with somebody talking about generational wealth and everything, and as you can see, she ain't got no man, or you know what? Maybe she do. She probably got a young buck. All right, cause yeah, but cause I'm just saying because if she had a husband, like I was saying before, the case I made before was that if she had a husband, the husband would have said, "Do not allow her to book for the entire month," because the husband would have looked over the laws because it would have been a thing that they're both involved in, right? And it would have had a policy against that. Because if you know that, all right, boom, if someone stays in occupancy for a certain amount of time, they now have tenancy rights and everything. First of all, I don't know what's going on in DC. I'm gonna keep saying this shit. If you in New Jersey, she could have got her out by the next month. I forget. I don't know if they ever said, but I think the lady was there for a while. So what initially happened was, and my theory is that that lady probably had a hard time keeping the bills going, and she saw that big ass booking for $2,000 and everything, right? And thought, all right, great. I'm gonna get this money right now, and then she gonna be out. Then I get the next person in there. This is a perfect month for me, so on and so forth, right? Wrong. This woman uses the system against. Now, mind you, this is a black woman doing this to another. She knows the homeowner is black. She knows that shit, right? And again, this is probably her first property that she's doing this with, and her first experience is someone taking advantage of the system and basically moving in. I think it's a video. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you guys the video of the actual eviction. And I don't know if this is the ladies on the person what I don't know her name. Basically the tenant, the fake tenant. I don't know if it's her family help moving out or the homeowners helping them move out. But goddamn, when I tell you that the house is full of stuff. How do you go to an Airbnb and fill up the entire house with all your stuff?
In a bizarre Airbnb battle. 7 News has exclusively told you about a homeowner in Northeast DC who says a squatter has taken over her short-term rental. But that alleged squatter claims she's a tenant with rights. All new at 6 o'clock. Our Felicia Ashley is learning this isn't the first time the so-called unwanted guest has refused to leave a property.
I found court records revealing that Romero stayed in multiple properties in and around DC rent-free for months while they went through the eviction process.
Court records show at your previous apartment you were also getting evicted for not paying rent. And
so that wasn't for that place. It was for a previous place where something happened during COVID when everyone was not receiving payment. I'm an entrepreneur and I also have a nonprofit.
Court records show Shadidra Romero faced eviction from 2 other DC properties before booking Roshane Douglas's Airbnb nearly a year ago.
Damn.
I reviewed the records with real estate attorney Rich Bianco.
Scrolling down the docket here, she knows what she's doing. So this isn't the first rodeo.
Court records show that in October 2021, she had a year lease at the Jameson at Dakota Apartments. Those owners also filed a suit against Romero. It shows she stayed months past the end of her lease and did not pay anything between May 2022 and January 2023. She also signed a legal agreement to pay the...
So she was in this woman's property for an entire year, not paying nothing. You also heard her say she an entrepreneur. Listen, I've been there. I know what it's like to not be able to pay your bills, yo. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't go to no goddamn Airbnb. Don't get me wrong. When you in a bad position, yo, and you don't have a plan. Because for the most part, all this shit happened because she failed to align herself with a man. Let me tell you something. This is the future for a lot of millennial women. Because a lot of y'all don't have a plan. A lot of y'all don't have an actual career. And your best bet is either you gonna have to get you a roommate, even if you got kids. You still need a roommate. You don't need to either get a roommate or a man. You're not gonna be able to do this on your own. The economy, yo, has moved so far past a single income. Like, yo, I was in this building earlier. My man said the rent there is $3,500. I'm like, you know what? I was thinking like, damn, in order for you to make it here, you would have to have at least a combined income of $9,000 a month. Right? Or if you're by yourself, you need to have well, I'm just saying to be able to pay that much rent and it not hurt your pockets. I'm like, cause you again, I would only feel comfortable living somewhere that costs that much if I was making like 200 grand a year. I would have to be making a lot of money, or it's a combined amount of 200 grand per year. But trust me, trust and believe, there are probably plenty of people in that building who cannot afford to stay there, or they got just enough to stay there. All right, it's probably plenty of people where like, yo, it's 2 or 3 people living in that apartment. All right.
Jameson $35,000 in back rent, but she did not follow through with that agreement. She was officially evicted 8 months after she stopped paying.
I did not go to court for eviction for Ava Noma.
5 days after she was evicted from the Jameson, records show she moved into Ava Noma. She paid 1 month's rent and owes them nearly $50,000. The property tried to evict her multiple times, but there was a fire, which I confirmed with DC Fire and DMS started in her unit while she was there.
Ava Noma is the one showing that you were in the process of being evicted for paying 1 month's rent when you were there for 13.
So no, that would not be accurate.
Again, court documents show Romero filed a motion to delay the eviction, this time citing the fire and saying insurance needed to see the damage in the unit. She booked the Airbnb as she was getting evicted from that property.
I found multiple tenant and landlord cases against her in and around DC when she went by a different name at the time. In addition to that, I saw at least a dozen liens against her, as well as a case claiming that she paid for a down payment for a vehicle and made no other payments after that. Now, since these discoveries, Romero has said that she is not speaking to us anymore. For now, reporting from the DC Bureau.
Anyway, so I wanted to share that story because, again, I want you guys to get a better idea of what's actually going on outside. Don't buy into these goddamn panels where people get on here and cap, these comment sections where these people get in here and cap and don't tell the truth. And what happens is, again, I feel like men's self-esteem gets so fucked up hearing these things like, yo, you gotta make all this money. Don't get me wrong. I definitely think that for the sake of survival and thriving, yes, you're going to have to figure out how to. The next step in evolution for men is that all men, the same way, at one point, all men didn't need a car. But, most men, if they really try hard enough, you can get a car. So the next step in terms of what you're going to need moving forward is you're going to need a job and a business, or a job and a trade, or a job and something else you can do, and at some point you have to build up to where you acquire assets. You know what I'm saying? Things that can appreciate with value. And every man can do this, especially if he starts early. I mean, my dad, bless my dad, love my dad to death, man. My dad told me, yo, you need to start thinking about your retirement now. If you start saving $100 a week now, you know what I mean? You imagine how much money you'll have when you're older. And again, that money will always, will matter. It will definitely always be useful in the future. And we're going to talk more about the future in a moment. But we also got to talk about how do we get here. What we see in both stories is the woman that's the squatter and Onyenka, they're not that different because they're both delusional. They both got there through way of delusion. If you think that she didn't have a lot of failed romances, I mean, for the most part, bad outcomes, and I'm saying, usually come from I'm sorry. Failed romances and bad outcomes are usually not that far apart, in my opinion, and in my experience, right? So, what I noticed, right, is that people like this, they miss red flags because they're not able to look at, all right, if you're doing this now, how is this? What's going to happen in the future? You know what I'm saying? Because I was going to ask yourself, like, all right, how did you miss these red flags, right? And also too, when your morals aren't right, when you're not prepared, you know what I mean? When you're too desperate. I remember like years ago hearing from this lady that me and my peoples know, and she's in real estate, and she says, never be desperate for a tenant. And just in general, that advice, you don't go say don't take advice, that is a great jewel, right? Because whenever you make choices, because when you're desperate, you won't actually look at what is the actual benefit. What am I actually going to be getting out of it? You can get very much caught up in I need. It's very hard to invest properly, right? In terms of knowing what's the best move you should make. If in your mind you're thinking, well, basically having a scarcity mindset, right? To make things simple. But I give you a better example, right? So when it comes to my apartment now, had I gone with the easier choices and going the easier route, I'll be living somewhere out there I'd be very unhappy to live at. You know what I'm saying? I think it would have went. I mean, I would have made the most out of it, but it wouldn't have felt like how it feels to work. I'm sorry, how to live here, right? Don't get me wrong. It's some things I don't necessarily care for, but I mean, I work so goddamn much that a year has gone by like this because I've worked so fucking much, and also I just been working on the content so much, right? So anywho, had I gone with my first options, which would have been easier options, it would have been a sure thing. I could have moved to Linden, but I was like, yo, I love the convenience of living near my job, or no matter where even if I had to transfer back to the other location, I can still get there in 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And I can still get to my gym in 10 minutes. You know what I mean? I can still get to my son in about 10 minutes. You know what I mean? No matter what, I can get to my son for 10 to 15 minutes. If it's an emergency, if I have to come home early, whatever, I can get to him fast, right? And convenience and saving time is worth money. I mean, I always hear like older guys in my life tell me about moving to Middlesex County, but for right now, my mind is not there. I'm like, but at the same time, y'all all live there with y'all women. You know what I'm saying? Y'all there, not gonna say because you're women, but y'all there with y'all women. I'm not, no, bro. I'm single. I'm in the city. You know what I'm saying? I'm a single man. I need to be near where shit is happening at. You know what I'm saying? I need to be at the epicenter. I need to have my finger on the pulse. You understand? But anyway, point is being desperate. And it really paid off in the end that I was willing to take the long route and take the inconvenient route, which was put all my stuff in storage and bringing bless my grandma, being able to bring my stuff to my grandmother's house and being able to stay there for those 2 months, you know, and while I was finding an apartment, even the way I got the apartment, just everything was just mystic, and it's all been a walk of faith, and it's all been confirmation that we gonna make it, you gonna make it, and I'm definitely gonna make it. All right, because so many things that went on where everything happened perfectly. Even the other night, right? Somebody was parking in my spot, and and to a certain degree, I was mad, but I wasn't super mad. You know why? 'Cause I was like, man, shout out to my neighbors. I share this parking lot with 3 buildings, and I have such great neighbors that I have only come home maybe one time since I had that parking spot, and someone was in my spot overnight. Like one time. If you ever had a parking spot in a building, it's very tough to maintain a parking spot or hold down a parking spot, because you will, especially if you live in the hood, you will come home and find someone in your parking spot, and it is the wildest experience. It's the craziest experience. You know what I mean? But anywho, all right, man. I think that's good enough right there, man. I think it's important to talk about these stories, man, because this is going to be going on more. Right? And this is very common. And at the end of the day, man, listen, men remain the prize, bro. Focus on yourself more than ever. And again, I'm not saying it in the way where I'm saying that, and I heard CGA talk about this same thing about men wanting women to come to their senses and come to admit that they need them and this and that. Nah, at this point, you got to level up past wanting something like that. But the reality is that, whether they want to admit it or not, more than ever. And Kevin Samuels tried to warn them, women you need to get with a man now, because listen, you're gonna start seeing evictions go crazy. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go find that episode and bring that back up. But anyway, thank y'all for watching, man. Subscribe to the channel, man. Love y'all. Peace.